Welcome to today's Explainer. We're jumping right into Lesson 2.1, transitioning to an individual entrepreneur or IE certificate. Today we're doing a total architectural teardown of corporate administrative structures. More specifically, we're looking at that make or break transition a business has to make when it grows from a tiny, subsistence microbusiness into a fully integrated, scaling enterprise. So if you've ever felt like your own administrative setup is, well, literally holding back your growth, you're absolutely in the right place. Let's get into it.
Here's our executive briefing for today. We're going to hit 5 main points. First, the growth ceiling. Then, the fragmented patent trap, followed by the administrative upgrade, legalizing human capital, and finally, automated ERP integration. Essentially, this is your roadmap to fixing those critical operational friction points so you can actually sustain long-term growth.
Okay, starting off with Section 1, the growth ceiling and hitting the limits of microtrading, we need to pinpoint the exact moment a startup hits a catastrophic administrative wall. To really understand this wall, we have to talk about what we call the patent sandbox. Now, a fixed-fee patent regime, it's great for a solo operator. It's super simple, keeps your initial costs low, it's a cozy sandbox. But the second you need to hire a real team, it turns into a massive compliance nightmare. Because it legally restricts, or even outright forbids, formal employee hiring, founders who try to grow are kind of pushed into the shadows. They end up relying on illegal shadow payrolls and physical cash, and breaking their operations apart just to keep up. It's a trap.
Which brings us right to Section 2, the fragmented patent trap and its architectural vulnerabilities. We're going to look at a real-world example from Central Asia to see exactly how this plays out. Meet Rajab. He's an ambitious guy running 3 interconnected food businesses. First up, an Oshkhona, a traditional diner that gets heavy lunch and dinner traffic. Then, he's got a Sambusakhona, which is a pastry workshop cranking out huge volumes of baked goods for both retail and wholesale. And finally, a Nonvoikhona, a bakery making traditional flatbreads for locals and to supply his own diner. Now, to run this whole network, Rajab initially used 3 totally separate fixed-fee patents. And here's the kicker. He registered them under the names of his lead baker, his head chef, and a family member.
Now, what's really interesting here is the clash of perspectives. At first glance, registering separate patents in other people's names seems like a genius hack to minimize direct taxes and save cash. But that's just an illusion of short-term savings. The reality, it is a guaranteed blueprint for catastrophic structural failure. You're basically building a house of cards that is doomed to legal and operational collapse.
Let's break down exactly why this setup is so incredibly dangerous. It really comes down to 3 massive audit exposures. Number 1, labor law violations. You can't have formal contracts under these patents, so Rajab is paying a shadow payroll in pure cash. 0 personal income tax, 0 social tax withholding. Highly illegal. Number 2, 0 operational control. Since his employees technically own the patents, Rajab has literally no legal right to his own operating licenses or bank accounts. Think about that. One bad argument with a head chef, and an entire branch is paralyzed. And number 3, audit exposure. Tax authorities aren't living in the dark ages, they use digital cross-checking today. They can easily see the shared procurement of flour, oil, and meat moving between these 3 places. In an audit, they'd collapse this whole setup into one illegal enterprise and hit Rajab with massive retroactive taxes and fines. Game over.
So, how do we fix it? That takes us to Section 3, the administrative upgrade, where we reconstruct the enterprise. This is where a financial architect has to step in and build a unified, bulletproof framework. To actually break out of that fragile, illegal patent sandbox, we need an administrative upgrade. The silver bullet here is the individual entrepreneur, or IE certificate. This is your bridge from being a risky microtrader to a formalized enterprise. With an IE certificate, the diner, the pastry shop, and the bakery aren't weird, separate, suspicious entities anymore. They become one unified legal enterprise. All that bulk material procurement, it's logged as a consolidated expense, and all the cash flows into one central corporate bank account, which, by the way, actually builds real credit history and collateral for when you want to expand later. It's a total game changer.
Moving on to Section 4, legalizing human capital. Let's see how this new architecture solves the single biggest compliance nightmare, the workforce itself. Because when we actually zoom in on Rajab's operations, he doesn't just have a couple of helpers. He employs 18 people. 18! We're talking bakers, cooks, waitstaff, cashiers, delivery drivers. And under the old patent system, every single one of those 18 individuals was working in the shadows. That is a massive amount of daily legal risk just waiting to blow up.
But the absolute best thing about the IE certificate is that it gives you the statutory right to execute real, formal labor contracts.
Rajab can finally bring all 18 employees into one legitimate legal framework. And the math is super straightforward. Total official payroll cost equals gross employee salaries plus employer social tax contributions. By just following this formula, he takes his human capital, which used to be a terrifying, hidden liability, and transforms it into a fully documented, legal operational expense.
You know, the thing to remember here is that formalizing your payroll isn't just about making the tax man happy. It is fundamentally about control. Having formal contracts gives you real executive control over workplace discipline. It legally protects your secret recipes and your branding as your intellectual property. You can actually enforce non-compete clauses. And maybe most importantly, it stops labor inspectors from walking in and shutting your entire business down. Legalizing your team is literally how you protect your brand's survival.
All right, let's wrap up with Section 5, Automated ERP Integration. Now that we have this unified network, we can't manage it with messy paper ledgers. We need a proper technological engine.
The solution here is deploying an automated ERP platform, like Odoo, to handle unified daily reporting. It breaks down into 3 key modules. First, point-of-sale terminals. Every branch gets an API-integrated POS that captures all digital and cash revenue in real time, consolidated right at the end of the shift. No more missing cash. Second, centralized inventory. When Rajab moves bags of flour from the main warehouse to the bakery, the system tracks that internal transfer perfectly, calculating the cost of goods sold without creating any weird artificial tax liabilities. And third, automated payroll. Shift hours are logged at the branches, pushed straight to the payroll module, and boom, gross salaries, net payouts, and statutory taxes are calculated dynamically.
With all this data flowing seamlessly into one master dashboard, calculating true profitability becomes effortless. The formula is right there. Your net consolidated operating margin is simply the sum of each branch's revenue minus its cost of goods sold, minus that newly centralized payroll and overhead. You go from basically guessing your profits in the dark to knowing your exact financial health, right down to the minute.
So I'm going to leave you with a crucial structural question to ask yourself about your own operations. Take a really hard look at how your business is built right now. Is it engineered for a subsistence micro-trader hiding out in the patent sandbox? Or is it architected as a transparent, scalable enterprise ready for regional growth? Because as we've explored today, legal compliance is not just some annoying regulatory hurdle. It is the absolute foundational architecture you need for long-term, sustainable growth. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.